Panel interviews are the most nerve-wracking things that can happen to you in an interview process. You got 5 people staring at you, waiting for you to answer, and you're like, you go blank. You're not sure what to say, or maybe you start rambling and you don't know when to end. And you might even know your stuff, but you don't know how to articulate it. And someone else who's more prepared can actually get the job. So we don't want that to happen to you. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly what you need to know for your next panel interview. A recent client of mine, Lindsay, who is a second career nurse, her first career was graphic design. She moved into nursing. I actually helped her land her dream role at one of the top hospitals in California, Kaiser, that was super competitive because she was going against 2,700 applicants. And at the end, she actually got selected, one out of 2,700 candidates, to get her dream role in Med Surg. And she got selected from a panel interview. Let's break down, what is a panel interview? You can have a panel interview where you show up by yourself and you might have 5 or 6 people in front of you. Funny story, I actually had a panel interview for a nurse manager position in the ER somewhere in New York. I actually had 10 people in front of me staring at me, but I stayed calm and I actually crushed, right? So this is the same situation that can happen to you. Literally a bunch of people. You can have a nurse manager, an educator, other nurses, assistant nurse managers, all there interviewing you at the same time, which can be a little bit intimidating. So that's the first panel interview style. The second type of panel interview, which Lindsay had to go through, is she actually had other candidates on the same panel virtually. It can also happen in person where there are other candidates. And sometimes they'll interview groups of, say, 5 or 10 people at a time. And they literally will just ask you question after question and rotate. And they'll have multiple people in front of you. So those are kind of the styles of panel interviews that you can get. So I don't want you to be alarmed or surprised. I want you to be ready for them. So number 1, know who you're interviewing with. I talk about this a lot. You can ask the recruiter who will be in your interview, whether it's a virtual or in person, you can figure it out. Ask for the name. You can literally go on LinkedIn or Google, look them up, look up their role, see what they do, because it's going to be very important to address them in that interview. A lot of times you'll see actual staff nurses as part of the process, of the interview process, because they have something called shared governance, where they want everybody to make a shared decision-making process. So they often invite them to these interviews. You can often have one interview that leads to a second private interview where it's just you yourself, or sometimes they'll just select you right from that panel and give you the job. So it really depends. The type of questions that you answer might be very different depending on who you interview with. If it's an educator who's asking a question, you might want to gear your answer a little bit more to professional development, education, how you're a fast learner, those types of things. If it's a nurse manager, they might want to hear a little bit more about your leadership skills, how you handle conflict, how you deal with a team, those things. If it's a staff nurse that might ask you a particular question, they might want to hear a little bit more about your personality, how you handle stress, how you work in a team environment. Are you helpful when you're finished your work? Are you going to lend a hand? Are you someone that has a sense of humor? You know, they kind of want to know the vibe of the person they're going to be working with. So that's number 1. Number 2, prepare the most common panel questions, because they're going to ask you these common questions. Number 1 is tell me about yourself or walk me through your resume. That is essentially your interview pitch. You got to give them something about why you're interested in that particular position and a little bit about yourself, which is your backstory about how you got into nursing and what led you to the specific interview and why you want to be a nurse in whatever specialty. You need to have a compelling story in an interview pitch. You also need to answer, why do you want to work on this specific unit? Again, you got to pull a little deeper and talk about why that particular specialty calls you, whether it's the ER, the ICU, pediatrics, labor and delivery. And you might also want to pull in a little bit of some statistics, what's going on currently in healthcare, maybe some trends, something that has led you to want to make an impact with that particular population. And then they might ask you why this particular hospital. You don't want to start getting into too many details about the hospital, about how they're magnet and hype up the hospital. You just want to say what you are going to bring to the table if you're hired at that hospital. They want to know, what are you going to bring to them? So I have a full video on each of these answers. Definitely go check it out. It's the 5 interview tips for new grads. And if you want more strategies like this and you're loving this type of content about interviews, because I know new nurses love interview content, then you need to come to my next free webinar. The description is below. Sign up with the link, because once it fills up, that's it. And if you're like Lindsay and you want to be selected 1 out of 2,700, you got to be able to stand out and be prepared. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, I could just rely on Google or ChatGPT to get me through an interview, that ends today. Because so many people think they could just get through by just Googling an answer and just reciting it. Not gonna work. If you come to my webinar, I'll teach you the exact strategies that I don't share here on YouTube, and extra tips that will literally get you hired in days or weeks. So I'll see you in the next webinar. Register now, sign up. You don't want to wait, because when it's full, it's full. So definitely sign up now. Number 3 is dress to impress. I can't stress this enough. I talk about it all the time. Invest in a really good looking outfit that literally turns heads. I'm not saying you gotta go full out like the Met Gala, but you gotta turn some heads. You gotta look fresh to death, dress to impress. Don't wear black, don't wear navy blue, don't wear all those typical colors that everybody wears, because you're just gonna blend in. And we don't want you to blend in. We don't want you to be bland. We want you to be spicy. Add a little color. If everyone's wearing black, wear white. Wear a cobalt blue suit. Add a really cool earring that's really colorful. Make sure your makeup is done, your hair is done, and you look like $1,000,000. From your hair down to your toes to what you're wearing. You have to be confident. Especially if you're on a panel interview, everybody's wearing black. You got to stand out. One of my clients, Emily, got a NICU position. She went to a job fair. I told her to wear a cobalt blue suit. She laughed. She was texting me, laughing, saying everyone's in black. I'm the only one wearing blue, cobalt blue. So she stood out. Number 4, if you want to stand out, you got to have a condensed interview pitch. So remember we talked about an interview pitch earlier. Make sure it's the condensed version, because you got to get to the point. You got to move fast. Say the most important things literally in the first 30 seconds. Because some hospitals like Kaiser will actually time your answers. And they'll tell you like, hey, you have a minute to answer this, or you have 2 minutes to answer, or 3 minutes. So you need to literally be aware of how much you're talking, what you're saying, how you're saying it, and are you hitting the right points. And in that interview pitch, you want to almost shock them. You want to disrupt. If everybody's introducing themselves like, hi, my name is Farah, I went to this school, and I really want to work with children. Boring. Everybody's going to say that. Do something else. Let's say you want to work in labor and delivery. You might want to start off with saying something like this. Hey, so I'm here today because I'm actually super tired of watching all this horrible news of moms who are actually dying due to pregnancy complications. Black and brown women, right, obviously are 3 to 4 times more likely to die due to pregnancy complications. And I'm tired of seeing it on the news. And that's why I want to make an impact in labor and delivery. And that's why I'm here today, because I'm not going to be afraid to advocate for these types of women in this community, because I truly believe every mom should be able to leave the hospital with a healthy baby who is alive. Like, tell me that's not unforgettable, right? Instead of saying, hi, my name is Farah. I want to work in L&D because I want to help moms and improve patient outcomes. We're not doing that. We don't do that. So this is what we do in the webinar and also in my group coaching. We literally tackle these heavy issues. We become controversial in a good way, but that makes us stand out. And that's what we did with Lindsay. And that's why she was selected 1 out of 2,700 candidates. So say the most important things first, make it memorable, make it shocking, come up with a statistic, and don't bury the lead. Like, get to the point and get to it immediately. And then you need to prioritize your value, need to know how to articulate your value, show your commitment. You can literally say, hey, this is my dream job. I know I belong here. That's what I did in my ER interview 20 years ago. I didn't have a nurse career coach. I didn't have YouTube videos like this, but that's what I did 20 years ago that helped me get into the ER because I was real. I told my story, why I belonged in the ER. I did my last preceptorship in the ER and I just crushed. And then you need to bring some proof, some skills, certifications as examples. Watch my next videos on how to have a powerful interview pitch. The link is in the description below. And then number 5, get your stories organized. So many people don't know how to tell a story, how to organize their story, and how to tell behavioral style stories. So they're gonna ask you, tell me a time you went above and beyond, tell me a time you had a conflict with a patient or with a coworker, how did you handle it? Or they'll ask you a patient experience story or an advocacy story. There's a lot, but you need to organize them and have them in a way that's compelling and that you get to the point of what action you took to get the result. And then they want to know, are you going to be there long term? Are you going to invest in that hospital system, in that unit? You want to share that you're going to be there long term. You don't want to just clock in and clock out. You're going to be involved in initiatives in the community, on committees, and things like that. You don't want to say things like, hey, I want to work here because it's Magnet Hospital. Like, they already know that. Or you have a great reputation and I know that you're going to help me become a better nurse. No, you need to tell them what you can bring to the table and how you're going to make them better. So that's what you got to do. And then for my secret last tip that I promised you is you need to actually leave something behind at the end. That's number 6. Leave something behind. What do I mean by that? In person, leave a thank you note. That goes a long way. It's a little old school, but if you have a handwritten note, give it to them, make it personalized. That will make you unforgettable. A brag folder, which is a personal portfolio of all your achievements, different certifications. You can hand that to them and leave it with them. If it's virtual, you can create a digital brag folder where you can actually send it to them digitally. And you can actually send them a thank you note, obviously, within 12 to 24 hours of the interview. So leave something behind so they can remember you by. And then reference something in particular that you talked about in the interview. One funny tip that I like to give is like, talk about how nurses love potlucks and like make a joke about it or something and incorporate that in your interview. Most candidates are too serious. Most candidates won't do things like this, but you're not most candidates. You want to stand out. You're premium and you want to get hired faster. So you need to be bold and stand out. And it shows you're serious and you're organized and you want to follow up fast. You don't want to just wait around. And then, like quick tips, thank them for their time, reiterate how it was really good meeting them, express interest in this role, how it's your dream role in any specific conversation, and just reinforce that you're the right candidate and that you can't wait to join their team. So if you enjoyed these tips and you want to apply these tips, you come to my webinar. I'm confident that you'll crush your next panel interview. But here's what most nurses don't realize. Getting through the interview is one thing, but once you get the offer, you don't want to mess up. You don't want to accept it too quickly or ruin the deal or leave money on the table. So watch the next video about the most common job offer mistakes that most nurses make. I'll see you in the next video.